Hey, Flames fans, welcome to another edition of Flames Unfiltered, hosted by myself, Burud, and Kyle Lewis. And today is a special episode. It's one of our off-season special episodes, and we're going to dig deep into what Flames players were over or underrated. Should be an interesting conversation as we roll through the offseason. The Stanley Cup has been awarded, and now things should heat up a little bit in the league.
Yeah, well, I hope so. I mean, it's already been a few things that have happened just since that the cup was awarded. Though getting too deep into it, Tortorella is not returning as a Vegas Golden Knights coach. Joseph Woll got traded to Philadelphia. So immediately in the aftermath, we're seeing some trade activity and noteworthy things happening in the coaching realm. And yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, it is. So let's talk about some of the players who were overrated as Calgary Flames, and we'll end with the underrated guys. Some of the secret Flames players that were a lot better than they were probably given credit for.
Well, let's start with something that I feel is underrated. You might feel is overrated, and it's Blasty, right? You see this the studio I'm wearing. So the rumors persist that Blasty's going to go away or be minimal in next year's jersey scheme. We'll see, but I'm buying up all the Blasty stuff I can find, and this sweatshirt is no exception. So,
well, that's
Blasty,
good.
Underrated. Anyway,
all right.
Okay, so Brad deserves a ton of credit for not just the production of our show, but also the creative content, especially when it comes to off-season episodes. This is where he really shines. So I'm going to let you take the lead on who you feel is either an underrated or an overrated Flame.
My first guy that I think of, and how sometimes things in life, whether it be a song or, whatever, brings you back to a time of what you were doing in your life.
Absolutely.
I remember we were remodeling our house. We had completely gutted our house. The bottom two levels were done. We were living in the bottom two levels, which my kids had their bedrooms, but my wife and I were on a blow-up mattress. As I laid in the blow-up mattress one night, I see that the Flames have signed a giant free agent named James Neal. I remember exactly where I was when I found that out, and that's where I was. And could he have not been more overrated? Just a disaster contract that he just never clicked in Calgary.
No, it was a miserable experiment, one we'd all like to forget. He came with a lot of hype, but I mean, in hindsight, being what it is, I mean, even at the time, he was not overrated by any stretch. But I think as a signing, he was significantly overrated. So in that respect, yeah, you're bang on. That was exciting at the time. But,
yeah.
Pride of Whitby, Ontario.
It went south quick.
As quick or quicker or not as quick as Troy Brouwer?
About the same. That's he's on my list too.
Oh, I know.
About the same. I mean, they just never got out of the gate. Neither one of them. And you know what? I hate to say it, we can throw the bomb on it right now. Jonathan Huberdeau's kind of there too, but not, I guess, to the extent of the James Neal.
I think in terms of the difference between them, Neal was expected to do well, and so was Huberdeau, and neither did. Neither has in Huberdeau's case. Brouwer was known from day one to be a terrible contract.
Yeah. So he is not really as overrated because we all were like, what?
Oh, I was sitting on a beach when that came out. Because didn't they sign him and I want to say Brian Elliott on the same day?
I think so, yeah. Yeah.
Man, Elliott had a sick gear setup though, the red pads.
Yeah.
Oh,
he was, yeah.
Okay, let me throw one at you. Underrated.
Okay.
Fred Brathwaite.
For sure.
Yeah, one of the best goaltenders in a franchise that hasn't had a ton of stellar goaltenders. I mean, obviously Kiprusoff, Vernon, Markstrom as well deserves some mention there. But I thought Brathwaite, when he got traded to St. Louis in that deal for Roman Turek, was kind of underappreciated. He won the Flames a lot of games shouldn't have won. And to this day, the save he made on the goal line with his stick against the Detroit Red Wings in like 98 or 99 is like one of the all-time NHL saves. Like he was a really good goaltender for Calgary.
Yeah, he was. His numbers crazy good.
Yeah, on a terrible, terrible team the 2 or 3 seasons he played here.
Yeah. Yeah. I am an underrated guy too. And you're probably going to shake your head maybe a little bit at this because I don't know that he was as underrated in Calgary as he was throughout the league. But when I look back at how important he was to the success of this franchise, I feel like he's underrated and still is under talked about in this franchise, and that's Robin Regeer.
Yeah, I think I told you before on the show. I have his last Flames game worn jersey in my basement.
Really?
Yeah, the last one he ever wore before he got traded to Buffalo. It's hard to overrate his contributions as a Flame.
He just was so quiet about everything and just went about his business every night and just got the job done. And he's one of those guys that's like when he's gone, it's like, whoa, this is a void we really are gonna have a hard time filling.
You kind of feel bad for Chris Butler in hindsight because he came back on that trade with Buffalo, and it's like there's no way, even though he was just taking the roster spot that Regeer held down, it's like,
oh, I know.
How do you follow those footsteps, right?
Yeah, impossible.
Man. Oh, 1,000%. Yeah, Regeer's a good one. Oh, overrated.
Okay.
Stick with defenseman. And his output, kind of it showed how overrated he was, but Jay Bouwmeester. I thought he was a terrible Calgary Flame.
Did you?
Well, the team did nothing when he was here. He was a workhorse minute-wise, but his offensive numbers were pathetic, quite frankly. And I guess, okay, so to be fair to Bouwmeester, I think what upsets me the most and why I feel he was so overrated even when he was brought in was that in bringing him in, they gave up on the time, I believe, was on Mike Camilleri. So they gutted their left wing depth offensively to bring in Jay Bouwmeester. And I think our top line left winger at the time as a result of that was maybe Rene Bourque, who had a great career as well. But it's like everything about the Bouwmeester thing in Calgary, and then we'd hire Brent Sutter as coach. I mean, everything about it was disastrous. And it was really evident to me that it was a really good example of bringing in a top tier name did not translate to success or betterment at that position. Because I thought as a defenseman in Calgary, I mean, he did nothing. He wanted to win a cup in St. Louis and had to retire because of a heart issue and was still a great player. But in Calgary, I was just like, he was so meh all the time.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree. We had high expectations. So what a big name, right? And
that was huge.
Yeah.
$6.5 million or something per year at the time. Like it was big money.
It's big money at the time. Big money.
Well,
an overrated guy that I have, this one I kind of struggled with when I wrote it on my list because he really wasn't bad in Calgary, but like overrated overall, compared to the hype that I remember watching him in the World Juniors in 2005. And that was Dion Phaneuf. I mean, he came in and his, with the massive hype his rookie year and quite honestly had pretty big success with tons of media attention with the big shot and the hits and everything. But his all around game was never really at the superstar level that he was hyped. And then as soon as he left Calgary, it seemed like it just dissipated to oblivion, really. And
they fell off a cliff. He fell off an absolute cliff.
So I look at him as kind of he's overrated, man. Everybody talks so highly of him, but his actions on the ice weren't as
so
right.
Yeah, so 0506 finished third in Calder voting behind Crosby and Ovechkin, which anybody would have finished third that year behind those two.
Yeah.
The 20 goals, 29 assists, massive hits, tons of fights. The second season, he had 17 goals and nearly 60 points, I think. And then I don't know what happened to the guy. And to this day, I wonder, and it's not about, I'm not trying to shit on the player. I really wish I understood what happened that his game just fell off like a cliff. Like he offensively completely disappeared. He wasn't nearly as tough. How many highlight reels have you seen of him throwing hits in a Leafs, Kings, or Senators jersey?
Minimal. I can remember one in Ottawa, like that are like one hands. I can count them on.
Now, the fun little side note about Dion Phaneuf that just jumped in my brain. My favorite Greg Millen call was when Phaneuf went to fight Yurko Ruutu and he tripped over his own skates and fell.
That was good.
Yeah, and Millen started giggling. And when and God rest his soul, when I think of Greg Millen, I think of that clip and just how funny it was because he couldn't hide the legitimacy of his reaction, right? But anyway.
I've watched that a few times.
Oh, we all have. But yeah, Phaneuf was a phenomenal Flame for about 2 seasons. Was never great defensively though, and in that way, I feel he was overrated because
Yeah.
he was the opposite of Robin Regeer in his own end.
Yes.
Like just a total rover. Took the big hit over the smart play far too often, but was hell of a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, he was. I mean, I often think, like what if he stays in Calgary?
Right. Good
I don't
question.
know.
Here's
I don't
another. Here's underrated.
Okay.
Because you talk about number 3 who throw giant hits. Denny Gauthier.
Yeah.
The guy was a workhorse of the Flames. He just destroyed people for a living, and he's a great guy. Analyst with RDS, has been for a number of years, but was part of the trade that brought Damon Lankow to Calgary. But up until like if Gauthier had played the 0-4 run, let's say if he hadn't tore his knee up in the first round against Vancouver, you wonder if that would have been enough to make a difference because he was quite solid defensively, but it was just a wrecking ball. He was every bit as good, if not better, a hitter than Phaneuf was.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I would agree. Say, do you think when we're talking about underrated, do you think Mikael Backlund falls into that?
In Calgary, no, but league-wide, yes.
I would agree.
Yeah, I think the Flames fans know what they have in him. It's weird. It's weird to see old clips of him playing with a Ginla, right?
I think a vast majority of Flames fans know what we have in him.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think there's still part of this core fan base that don't understand his defensive presence and what he does as a leader for this team. And he gets crapped on all the time because he's a captain and he's not the big superstar that puts up tons of points. But that's not, to me, what a captain is. And I think far too often in hockey, we just pin a C on somebody that's the goal scorer and may not really truly be the leader. And I think Mikael Backlund creates a calming effect. And I think that's a good trait in a captain and a leader. And I think outside of probably most of this market, he's a pretty underrated player in the National Hockey League.
I would agree. And in Calgary's case, I think apart from guys like Ginla, Fleury, Giordano, being the best player in the team, they have given the captaincy to guys who were just good leaders. Dave Lowry, Bob Bugner, Todd Simpson, which has not always been the norm elsewhere. I mean, especially in the 90s, like it was guys like, Paul Kariya, obviously had the C in Anaheim, Tony Amonte in Chicago, like players that were just highly, highly, highly skilled. But yeah, Backlund, very curious to see how we look upon his career when he retires in probably a couple years time, I would say.
I know it'll, 10 years from now when we're talking about this, like, I wonder how we look back at that career.
Yeah. Very curious.
I have an overrated one, and I don't think this one will surprise you. But the whole time he was here, he got praise and praise and praise, and I never saw it, and that's Milan Lucic.
Yeah, he was the guy that was super effective when he was effective, and then when he wasn't, man, he wasn't.
But was he really effective in Calgary? I'm not speaking of his other days outside of Calgary. I'm speaking about his time in Calgary.
Well, maybe I'm looking at it relatively, but when you consider the fact he was traded for James Neal and everybody thought it was a landslide win for the Oilers, and it turned out to be the exact opposite, it makes you think, right?
It ended up being, it definitely ended up favoring the Flames. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, when he destroyed Matt Duchene in Nashville that night, that was fun. Like he contributed more than anybody expected, and in that respect, maybe he was overrated. But this is a guy who was absolutely washed when he arrived in Calgary, or so we thought. So yeah, I'm a little mixed on that one, but I'm surprised there was any value there.
Yeah, that's probably fair. Was Dougie Hamilton an overrated player?
Dougie Hamilton is a very good player. I always laugh at that skates like a deer comment from Brian Burke. Like, what the hell does that even mean? But anyway, obviously you never watched Bambi. I don't know that he was overrated. I feel like he never truly hit his ceiling in Calgary, but he was a very strong defenseman.
He came with so much hype though. And like his defensive play and his playoff play was marginal at best.
True. Yeah.
That's why I think we said we spoke so highly of him, and I feel like he was slightly overrated.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, that's one of the reasons they dealt him, right? It's like, I mean, they talk about like the locker room fit and all that, but I really think it was more a case of he never quite hit the tiers they expected of him in Calgary, whether they were fair or they weren't.
Yeah.
Sometimes you kind of forget that he was a Flame, because there's a huge trade at the draft with Boston when it happened. But
Yep. No, yeah, he's one of those guys that when he left, he just fell off the radar so quickly and fell out of our memories so quickly.
Yeah, I agree. Underrated Flame.
All right, fire away.
Ramo.
Really?
He's the guy that got passed around the league, played in the KHL. Like, he just couldn't get a foothold anywhere. Was a throw-in in a trade at the time when he came to Calgary, and had a pretty good playoff run in 2015. Won some games, made some big saves. Like, had a great name, one of probably the best name of any goaltender that Calgary's ever seen. And now I'm thinking like Magnus Hellberg in Nashville, because that's a great name too. But yeah, he was kind of a flash in the pan, but I don't think and you could say the same for Jonas Hiller, but Jonas Hiller had way more of a pedigree coming from Anaheim, right?
Oh, he was highly touted coming out of Anaheim.
And Ramo wasn't. And Ramo actually asserted himself as a pretty decent goaltender for the Flames. So I know we often talk about the big names that shocked us or disappointed the hell out of us, but Ramo was one that, he deserves some honorable mention.
So Christian Huselius is a guy that fits to me as underrated.
Yeah, you and I have talked about Christian Huselius, noted liker of my tweets that he is, as being arguably one of the most skilled Flames players there ever was.
He's exactly what we're looking for right now.
Yeah, not far off. Yeah, he had wicked patience with the puck. Wicked patience.
Mm-hmm. Here's one for you. Sean Monahan, underrated or overrated? I think you could look at this two ways.
Again, hindsight being what it is, I'm going to say underrated.
Yeah.
This is a guy who, he potted
multiple 30-goal seasons, consistent production before his injuries. So in that avenue, you could say he was underrated.
Mm-hmm.
But I could also flip the switch and say, he was a weaker skater and his injuries piled up and never panned out to what we feel his potential could be. So, I mean, you could probably flip the scale on that one too.
I have two Sean Monahan stories I'll share very quickly because they're very simple. One was meeting Sean at a restaurant in Columbus, Ohio with a buddy of mine, Rob Shearer, and Sean asking us. Sean was with Milan Lucic, Travis Hamonic, and Mark Giordano. And he's like, "So what are you guys doing in Columbus?" I'm like, "We're here to see you play. Why the hell else would we be in Columbus?" And then I think it was later that same season, I was in line getting a beer, and John Monahan, Sean's father, was behind me. And I turned around and I'm like, "Oh, hey, John, how are you?" He's like, "Good. Like, do I know you?" I said, "No." I said, "You're Sean's father, though." He's like, "How'd you know?" I'm like, "You look exactly alike." Like, there's no question who you are.
I gotta tell a quick story here too. Now that you're talking about standing in line, the 2005 World Juniors in Grand Forks, North Dakota, I'm standing in line. There was a group of day games between Slovenia and Kazakhstan and stuff like that, where the weather was so brutal outside, you just people couldn't get to the arena. So there was hardly anybody there. I'm standing in line to get a hot dog or something at the concession stand, and I hear a quarter hit the ground right behind me, and it rolls up in front of me. I reach down, I pick the quarter up, I turn around to hand the quarter to the person that dropped it behind me, and it is Wayne Gretzky.
Wow.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a tough one to beat.
All right, fire another overrated one at me.
Overrated. God, there's so many. I'm trying to think of like a little bit more obscure here.
I have a guy. I'm going to interrupt you, and I'll do one thing. You just mentioned him, and I have a hard time saying he was overrated because I really liked his play. But the cost for Calgary to get him was really significant. And that was Travis Hamonic. That was a significant trade package that the Flames gave up. And, we wanted a stabilizing top defender. I feel like we got that a lot of his time in Calgary. But really, when you talk to Calgary Flames fans, the reviews are mixed on that.
Well, again, because the acquisition price and the fact he never really asserted himself above, we're probably a perfect 6 defenseman, but he's expected to play top 4, and he couldn't hit those levels consistently at all.
Yeah.
And actually, because he's part of that same era, I'll throw in one now that you give me the chance to think. Jacob Markstrom.
Oh, good one.
I think
that's a good one.
I think any number of goaltenders could have had the same success he had on that Flames team in 21-22, especially.
That's actually a secret good one. Yeah, he's another one that when we look back at his career in Calgary, well, we can now because he's gone, but I mean, it'll be interesting to see how we feel about that 10 years from now, even as it kind of marinates in our head. I do think that he was. I mean, the expectations were super high. I think he went through stretches where he was very, very good in Calgary.
Absolutely did, and that's the thing. Like we're not saying the player didn't contribute things or wasn't really, really effective. It's just for the expectations, the amount of money we paid him, the amount of term we gave him, what we spent in the trade to acquire them. A lot of these guys were significantly overvalued.
I've never seen a goalie give up more first shot goals than Jacob Markstrom.
I don't think he ever will again.
That was one of the most bizarre things I've ever seen.
I still don't understand to this day, and we're years down the road from that, and I still think about it sometimes. Typically when I'm trying to sleep and I can't.
Was that not just bizarre? I pray we don't see it again in Calgary.
Bizarre was the right word for it.
Yeah. I have an underrated one. He wasn't a superstar, but he brought the speed, the grit, and the secondary scoring that we needed, and that was Curtis Glencross.
My new friend Curtis Glencross. Yes.
And was, I mean, could you script a guy any better than Curtis Glencross for Calgary? I mean, he fits in perfectly. He brought this team playoff energy, and
it's a shame he wasn't part of the 2015 run when he got traded to Washington.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to look him up because I remember him just being so wildly consistent with Calgary. Let me just see what his eyes were. So he is from Saskatchewan. I remember that. Kindersley, in fact.
Home of the Kindersley Clippers.
Thank you for that. It's so weird how you remember people, eh? He only hit 2010, 2011, 24 goals as a Flame. 2011, 2012, 26 goals. This is career high. 43 and 48 points, 40 points.
But we didn't look for him to have much more than that. We just wanted that. He was consistent about it, though, right? He filled the role. He filled the role we needed, right? I don't believe he got a lot of accolades for that.
No, he did not. He had to try it with the Maple Leafs. And he got one from the Avalanche right after. He played in Europe. Retired a year later. Huh? Who knew? Or sorry, later that year. Very weird. But I was like, oh yeah, he had a 30-goal season in Calgary. No, he didn't. Just felt like he did.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
I got another overrated one, and maybe you'll argue this one with me. TJ Brodie.
I had a game worn TJ Brodie 15-16 script jersey that I sold.
I mean,
that's a random factoid I threw in there. Did very, very well as a Flame, but I mean,
the turnovers.
Yeah, but remember that was a weird summer too. He signed in Toronto when Chris Tanev signed in Calgary.
Yes.
And everybody at the time was like, why would we sign a beaten up, broken down Chris Tanev over keeping Brodie? And then Tanev went on to be, I would say, an underrated Flame.
Chris Tanev was a gamer of all gamers, right? I mean, that guy did everything.
But by that point, he'd already been banged around so much, nobody thought he can keep. It's again, the shelf life in a defenseman like that is so short, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, he was very effective. But back to Brody, I had a few drinks with at the time, his fiance and his mother-in-law to be in the same trip in Columbus, actually. Great people. He was very good. I mean, to say overrated, I could see it.
Yeah. Probably not a real cut and dried one.
No, it's a good one, though. I'm glad you brought him up. He was, number 66 when he first played for the Flames.
Was he?
Yeah. Bold play. I like bold,
Huh. I don't know. I'm running low on my list. Underrated. I kind of feel like Rhett Warner might be on there.
I would agree with that. Rhett Warner is definitely underrated.
Pretty key part of that 04 run, was never really thought of as the superstar part of that run. But, a defensive defenseman that did his job, right?
Yeah, well, he was part of the return when Chris Drury got traded to Buffalo. Drury, the star American player, didn't want to be in Calgary, and they got a really good return with Stephen Reinprecht and Rhett Warner. Very good return.
Yeah, they did.
Warner was an excellent Flame, and another big part of the Flames alumni. Here's a real off the board fun one. I'm going to say underrated. You'll never ever guess it in a million years. Number 33, defenseman.
Adrian Aucoin?
No, well, actually, excellent. Very underrated. I loved Adrian Aucoin. Had a real resurgence in Calgary. I was going to say Anton Babchuk.
Oh, God. Okay. Why don't you go deeper?
Yeah, he was not great defensively, but that bomb of a shot, that was fun. Man, Aucoin's was too. Aucoin was awesome. I loved Adrian Aucoin. That was actually you taught me. I'm glad I gave you that little prelude and who I was thinking about, and you guessed Aucoin because I wouldn't have thought of him. He was a great Flame.
He's one of those you just totally forget about, But when you said 33, the only player I could think of wearing 33 was Adrian Aucoin.
Yeah, that's fair. Babchuk. Let me look at his Flame stats here. This is wild. Man, it's so weird how you remember things, eh? 2010, 2011, 8 goals in 65 games, followed by a season of 2 goals and a season of 0 goals, like 7 games. So he had one season that apparently I very fondly remember. So that's hilarious. Also humiliating.
It goes back to show, like, it'll be interesting to see how we remember Backlund and some of these guys a decade from now. Because we do. Every one of us has predetermined things in our head that we remember. And, I could say, man, I remember that Flame and I really liked him. And you could be like, are you serious? You thought he was really good. It's funny how that works.
Aucoin had 10 goals and 25 assists in his first season in Calgary, and 10 goals and 24 assists in his second and only other season in Calgary. That is remarkably consistent.
Yeah. He's a gamer every night, right?
Absolutely.
I'm about over and underrated out. How about you?
Just about. This could be a 2-parter because, man, there's going to be some weird names coming in my head even after we're done this.
Well, we may bring it as another topic next summer.
We'll have to write down all the players we already talked about, though.
We will. I'll keep my file here. Perfect. All right, Flames fans, thanks for joining Kyle and I on another special edition of Flames Unfiltered. Next week, we are back with the NHL draft preview, and we roll into draft season, free agency season. And what will the Calgary Flames do as the anticipation grows? And it'll be exciting times, an exciting couple weeks here to end out the month of June. Enjoy what is left of, we're midsummer now, right? Are we early midsummer? All right, Flames fans, we're back next week. Thanks again, and enjoy the rest of your week.
See you guys.
So you want the best bang for your buck? Big brute bouncers don't blink twice before they're rough you up. Rather cut a check that's fat than a check that's clean. Everyone's trying to make ends meet.
Thanks for for listening to Flames Unfiltered with Brad Burud and Kyle Lewis, your source for unfiltered Calgary Flames hockey talk. Keep it locked on flamesunfiltered.ca. Subscribe where you get all your podcasts to never miss an episode. Flames Hockey Talk every week, presented by Inside Edge Hockey Media Group.